Hey, Smart Chiropractors, Dr. Jeff Langmaid here with Dr. Jason Deitch, part of the Smart Chiropractor team, and welcome to the Smart Chiropractor Show. This has been in pre-production, shall we say, for quite some time. We are super excited to get this out and live. We're going to be learning along the way, but this is our new opportunity to connect with you, to showcase stuff that you might have missed, new things that we're talking about, where we're going in the future, and basically provide you with as much tools as possible to help your professional and personal life. We got feedback along the way this past year in terms of what are those topics that you're passionate about learning about. We hope to discuss those, bring in experts, and have some fun along the way. So we hope you'll join us each and every week as we go through the Smart Chiropractor Show. Jason, as we kick off this new endeavor, what are some of your thoughts?
I just want to say thank you, everybody, to being here. This is the first of what we hope to be a long-standing project, each week connecting with you, hearing and listening to you, sharing with you based on your feedback, and together really building a rhythm, a pace, a sort of weekly huddle up, what we like to think as a tune in and tune up. We're going to talk a lot about how those words may apply to your practice at some point later on. But, this is an exciting thing you and I have been working on for quite a while with, of course, our team in the background. And it's a way for us to get a weekly huddle. Let's connect. Let's update with what's going on, what we see going on in the digital marketing, content marketing space, technology, the meta world, meta universe, all the ideas you and I, Jeff, have been talking about and consistently talk about, but have realized that we haven't been able to sort of have the conversation together as a family, as a team, as a group, as a group of smart chiropractors who are dedicated to not only building your practice, to not only generating more revenue than you spend, right? Being able to profit by being of service to other people, but also to grow, to reach out to those chiropractors who are struggling that don't need to be struggling, to reach out to those people in the public who may not understand what it is that you really do and help them understand what you really do. In other words, this is our way of sort of trying to make a splash and saying, hey, let's work together to make a difference. Our ideas are fresh and unique, and our technologies are fresh and unique. And the missing factor up until now, perhaps like the missing factor in your community, has been really understanding what it is we're trying to accomplish together with you. Might be the same thing with your practice and your community, right? If people only really understood who you are, what your intentions are, and the ways they can benefit by working with you better, they'd likely be lifetime clients. And what we've realized is that there's more and more of you who are leaning in going, we've got questions, we want to do more. What about, can I? My dream is, can you help me get there? And the answer is yes to all, but we needed to create a format to be able to make that possible, and this is it. So welcome, please put it on your calendar some way. I know some of you are practicing during this time. Whatever way you've got to figure out how to consume what we're doing, please try to make it a weekly routine, whether you watch us live, whether you watch the replays, whatever it is. We look forward to earning the opportunity to connect with you each and every week. So that's the Smart Chiropractor Show, where smart chiropractors watch, listen, and read to become smarter chiropractors. And to us, smarter chiropractors means all of the following, right? Smarter clinically, smarter intellectually, smarter emotionally, smarter, socially. And how do you really tune in and tune up your mind and your practice each and every week? We'll be talking all about it. I'm excited.
I love it. And I know that we are breaking everything into segments. So we're having specific segments within each episode. And our first segment each and every week is going to be all around mindset. So mindset is one of those topics that I know Jason and myself have been passionate about for a while. We put a poll in the group, and unexpectedly, it was the top answer of what everybody was hoping to dial in, learn more about, and really understand. So we're going to be kicking off each and every week with our mindset moments. And we're going to talk today about setting yourself up for success in 2022. It's no surprise we're in the last few weeks of 2021. So how can and how should you think about next year, what are some of those tools and techniques that you can utilize to make 2022 your best year yet? And how do you set up those mental frameworks to ensure that you're strong, that you're resilient, that you're ready to go, and that you are optimizing your ability to help people in your community? That's what we hope to tackle during this segment. And Jason, I know this one was a passion one for you as well. So when you think about how a doc should think about setting up for success in 2022, how do you think about it? And I'll let you kind of take it from there.
That sounds good. Well, it is the end of 2021, the year that I'm not sure anybody understands. We are in different times with different rules, with different social, cultural things that are accepted and not accepted, and mindset matters. And in fact, I was going through some of my favorite books here. You've got books like Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl. You got books like Tribes by Seth Godin, Start with Why, Simon Sinek, Mindset, Carol Dweck, and Mind Matters. All different books I've got around here and dozens more that for decades now I've really looked to as my barometer, as my basis, as my foundation for how you set your attitude. Because, everybody's heard it said before, it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to what happens to you. And how you respond to what happens to you has everything to do with your mindset, your attitude. And it makes the difference. And so as I was sort of putting together, some notes for this segment, it really came down to 4 questions, 4 thoughts, 4 which direction are you going to go when it comes to success in 2022? And I just wanted to lay those out. I think of these more as a conversation. And all of you watching, whether it's live or during the replay, this is a conversation. This is a group hug. This is a group huddle and connect. So please join us down below. If you've got thoughts, if you've got, I think that way too. If you've got a favorite quote or a suggestion for us to address at some point in a future episode, we are listening. We want you to join. Here are, to me, the 4 questions, the 4 thoughts that you've got to be asking this year in order to make next year your best. And it starts with number 1. Do you have the right attitude? These are 4 rights. It starts with the right attitude. And I just would say, pause for a moment and ask yourself, are you living in fear or are you living in trust? It's funny. We all think that when this happens, then I will be blank, right? When I have a certain amount of new patients, when I have a certain amount of money, when I have a certain amount of money in the bank, when I reach a certain volume, when I this, then I will that. And oftentimes we reverse cause and effect, all right? Where I grew up, when I was mentored, my mentors always sort of said that they use language like the idea was to, people think that you first do something, then you have something, and then you will be a certain way. If I do my work hard, I will have a lot of money, and then I will be happy. And so it becomes do, have, be. When I do this, I'll have that, I'll be something. And all of the spiritual guidance, all of the science of success gurus, the writers, the Napoleon Hills, and so on, actually reverse that order. And what science has told us in time, and Einstein himself, anybody who's studied success in any particular way, we have to realize the supremacy, like the supremacy of the nerve system, the supremacy of your mindset and your attitude. And what it's really come down to is that you first have to be a certain way in order to do things a certain way, in which case you will have things that are outcomes of who you are being. So for example, I'll ask you right now, as you're living where you are, take a deep breath, close your eyes, and think about next year. Are you fearful of what's going to happen next year? Are you fearful of a pandemic, fearful of finances, fearful of all of the possible risks that could go wrong? Or are you living in a state of trust? Of course, accepting. There's risk everywhere. with everything, no matter what it is. There's risk involved. But do you trust the process? Do you trust yourself? Do you trust the people you're working with? And that's a decision, not an outcome. That is a choice you make, not something you hope will happen. And so that's the first question is, are you living in fear or are you living in trust? That's the most important thing to start things off. Because if you approach your life from a state of fear, then how you do what you do as a fearful person will be different than how you would do what you do as a trusting person. Someone trusting in the process, having the confidence that your adjustments will be effective, having the confidence that your care plan recommendations will be accepted, having the confidence that if somebody walks away and doesn't accept what you're saying, that it's okay, the universe will provide in other ways. How you show up, how you project yourself, how people perceive you will have everything to do with how you show up, either in a state of fear or in a state of trust. So that's the first right. Do you have the right attitude? The second right, R-I-G-H-T, is to make sure you've got the right ideas. You know, a lot of chiropractors have been trained by their mentors. A lot of those mentors were successful in generations past. What worked in the 80s, what worked in the 90s, may not work so well in these days today when we're living in a mobile, hyper-connected meta-universe of sorts, that people have different expectations, they have different insurance reimbursement, and they have different risks and outcomes based on their health in today's world. People have never been so fragile when it comes to their health before. So do you have the right ideas? How do you know what you know is right? Here's what I'm asking, right? So one, do you think that the right idea is to make sure that you've got the best advertising to get more new patients through discount ads in order to be able to make sure that you maximize your ROI ASAP? When we talk to many chiropractors, a lot of chiropractors are exclusively focused on this idea that if it doesn't get them more new patients now, if it doesn't pencil out your calculations of how much money you spent on this campaign and how much you got back from this campaign, there's this general attitude that the ROI isn't there and therefore I shouldn't do it. And, you know, it's a very short-sighted perspective. I'm not saying that there's not value in it, but it doesn't really take into consideration the long run, the long game. And I'll play this the same thing in your practice, right? There's a lot of people that have learned to come in and go, well, what do you mean this is going to take time? What do you mean I have to change my habits? I just want fast pain relief now. And from what I understand, according to all those commercials and all those other experts, immediate pain relief now is available. I hear it every day on TV. You and I both know that that is not necessarily the right idea. You understand it? You understand why people think it. But you know the truth of the matter is that there is no process that does not require time, that healing is an inside-out process. It's not something that you can get from the outside in and immediately have it change your being for the long term. Sure, you can take medication, you feel better, it wears off, and you're back to where you were, maybe even worse because time has gone on. So do you have the right ideas? So if it's not, well, how do I get as many new patients as possible and make sure I maximize my ROI, then what is it? What's the other idea? The other idea is to think about that my success is based on my ability to get more new patients, to consistently communicate my ideas to as large of an audience as possible, and then offer them something that will help them achieve their goals. That is a different way of thinking about what it is that you're doing. It's a different idea. Am I doing what I can to maximize my return on investment, or am I doing what I can to make a maximum contribution to my community? And depending on which idea you have will depend on what actions you take, on what attitude you have. Am I successful or not successful? If you run an ad campaign of some sort, you get 50 new people that come in. It costs you $1,000. You've got an average of X amount of dollars per, and you calculate that, you may be able to calculate your immediate ROI to be extremely successful. But what you may not be calculating in your calculations is How long do those people stick around? How many of them actually convert and accept care? How many of those people actually refer on a regular basis or can't wait to leave because they've achieved their goal, which was immediate and temporary pain relief? So your idea of making sure that you're choosing the right outcomes, you're choosing what idea I'm searching for, what idea I'm going for, what idea I'm working for, will make a very big difference in what actions you take, which lead then to which outcomes, all right? So you've got the right mindset, you've got the right ideas, now you've got to measure the right outcomes. What are you measuring? What are the outcomes that you're saying, this is going to lead to my long-term success? So for example, one outcome is, look how many people came in from this ad campaign. Lots of people came in, that's good. Another outcome is, have you grown your audience? Have you grown your email list? Have you grown your following? Have you grown your ability to communicate with more people for free, consistently? Two different outcomes, two different pathways, and depending on what you're measuring will have everything to do with either your near-term success or your long-term success. And we're big believers that smart chiropractors think long-term. So you consider, what are the long-term implications? Just like hopefully you're teaching your patients in your community. Yes, you can take a medication, a painkiller, and kill your pain temporarily, and for the moment think you've solved your problem. But the reality is that in the long term, you've probably done more damage than help. So think about what you're doing and the impact that's having on your practice. And when the actions you're taking now lead to outcomes that are either going to be temporary outcomes or long-lasting, sustainable outcomes. Just like you think for your community, we're helping you think for your practice. And the fourth, right, is making sure you've got the right fulfillment. What does that mean? What does it mean, the right fulfillment? I got two definitions of fulfillment, and depending on your definition of fulfillment will absolutely depend on which right fulfillment you've got. So one definition is that fulfillment is the achievement of something desired, promised, or predicted, such as winning the championship was the fulfillment of a childhood dream. Many of you are in practice because of how much you want to help others, how generous you want to be with your skills and your talent. Helping more people is fulfilling for you. Others of you are really focused on the dollars, and the dollars. And so more dollars equals success. But what it doesn't take into consideration is the fulfillment aspect, because another fulfillment definition is the meeting of a requirement or condition. In order for me to pay my bills, I need to fulfill this number of revenue. I need to fulfill this number of bills by generating this much revenue. I'm fulfilling the order versus feeling fulfilled. And depending on your barometer and your mindset and your actions, your outcomes, and your attitude, it's really going to be sort of the rudder of your success in 2022. And we invite you to explore those different ideas. The right fulfillment for you. Many of you are making more money than you've ever made before. And with that, you have more stress and responsibilities and debts and obligations than you've ever had before. So if that's the case, I ask you, what are you really measuring? And are you measuring the right things? Fulfillment is something that should be a feeling. You feel fulfilled because you are making a profit. You're not financially stressed. But when you keep your eye on the ball, the bullseye, the point, the intention, the reason you get up in the morning and do what you do, is it really to generate more money regardless of how much stress, tension, and obligations? Most people make more and spend more and have no decrease in fulfillment or decrease in stress? Or are you really focused on really being as peaceful, as confident, as taken care of as you possibly can be? And we're going to get into different ways. We're going to introduce a very different business model throughout this program and throughout this season of shows that's going to help many of you radically shift and simplify how you can be enjoying your practice with much more fulfillment than you've ever had before. So stay tuned for our other segments. We'll go into any of those. Jeff, any of those stand out for you? I know it's very much how you and I have been thinking ourselves with our company and personally in 2022, making sure our mindset's right, keeping our team excited and motivated and focused on the future, trusting the process, making sure our outcomes are not just dollar outcomes, but process outcomes. Like we've got a goal to do one show every week to reach more people. We've got goals about audience size that we want to reach and connect with and serve. That's how we're doing it. And we'd love to hear from all of you. Jeff, what are your thoughts on some of that?
I couldn't agree more. I think that's a great segment, Jason. I think when I consider mindset, it's really one of the things that comes to the top, top of the cup for me, as you mentioned, was the difference between monitoring, the process and the outcome. And, we all have said it, we all heard it, that, the amount of money you earn is proportional to the value you deliver. And in many cases for chiropractors, that's, mostly, proportionally to the care that they deliver hands-on. I think with Payday Practice, we get some cool stuff coming up that helps to lighten that burden. However, there's no question that, really appreciating that process, understanding that, where you set your mind to is really that North Star. And no, you shouldn't be a rudderless ship out there. So really focusing on the process and checking off those check boxes, the outcome becomes automatic practically, rather than vice versa. It's almost where you started with kind of be, do, have, and so many people just have that reversed. And hey, if depending upon how you grew up, your thought patterns, what plays in your head, sometimes that can take a good amount of time and diligence to really change things and to really make your life and what you want it to be, and really to change those loops that play in your head. We're not saying it's supremely easy, but what we are saying is that if this is news to you, if this is something maybe that's even been on your mind, there's no better day to start than right now, right? So really looking at this past year, analyzing where you're at, and then setting those SMART goals for 2022, specific, measurable, attainable, time track, etc. Really looking forward to that will make a huge difference in your ability to look back 12 months from now and say, gosh, did I hit those outcomes? Monitor that progress along the way, appreciate the journey, and ultimately, be mindful of how you go about your day in and day out, and those loops that play in your head. So those are my thoughts on it, Jason, and I'll kick it back to you for some closing thoughts on our inaugural mindset segment.
We put a poll out earlier this year in the group, and surprising to both Jeff and I, the number one requested, thing from us was mindset. And it was really understanding that, it's really who you are that determines how well what you do works. That's a profound statement. It sounds easy. It sounds like a throwaway bumper sticker slogan. But really pause, because it might be one of the most significant statements I've ever heard as it relates to personal growth and development. How you show up, the spirit of who you are when you're doing what you're doing. The activity is secondary to the spirit of what you bring to it. You can have 10 chiropractors, in a class, all, with the right line of drive, the right force, the right listings, the right adjustments. Technically, things are as similar and the same as can be. In fact, taking a next step, right? Look at some of those different adjusting devices where technically the adjustment is the same throughout, right? What makes the difference? Why are some chiropractors successful and others aren't? Why are some happy and fulfilled and others constantly struggling? Why are some always attracting like a magnet people that just can't get enough of their care, can't refer enough of their friends, and others just sort of repel people with the opposite magnetism? And much of that has to do with your vibration, your energy. I almost think of it as an energetic signature. We all have one, and most of us don't pay much attention to it. So in gearing up for 2022, I've seen a lot of my friends doing different type of goal setting workshops. My buddy Paul Reed is talking goals, David Jackson talking goals, Brad Glowacki talking goals, all great stuff. Our advice for you here specifically, our take to inviting you to have the best 2022 is going to be very simple. You got to have the right, again, attitude, the right ideas, be able to focus on the right outcomes, and you've got to make sure that when you do all of those things, it's going to end up being what it is you really want. And Tony Robbins is brilliant at teaching that everybody does everything they do for a feeling. Don't forget that. It's not for an outcome like, well, $1 million, $5 million, $10 million. It's a feeling. What will that make you feel? How will you feel when that happens? Because there's plenty of people that reach their goals, don't get the feeling, end up miserable. We all know it. We all see it. This is our time to sort of put up the mirror, be self-reflective, be able to learn from some of those things and really work together as a group. You are our family. Smart chiropractors is what this world needs because we need to get better at doing our jobs. And I'll just sort of summarize as you asked before we get into our next segment. Our job, in our opinion, is to make a dedicated focus to be able to start reaching out into our community at a level like never before. And these days, our community is a physical community and a digital community. It's the number of people you can connect and communicate with on a regular basis for free. Think about what would happen if you doubled, tripled, quadrupled. What would happen if you could reach 50 people, 500 people, 5,000 people, 5 million people? Pick a number. What would be different in your community, in your world, if your new focus for 2022 was how do I reach as many people as I possibly can? What if that was your goal? Not how do I make as much as I can? How do I earn as much as I can? How do I squeeze as much out of it for my personal benefit as I possibly can? I'm not saying those aren't good and important things. I'm saying that those are outcomes. Those are not driving actions. And that if you focus on driving action, which is to grow your audience, and then follow that up with step 2, which is to offer them something they could buy, join, or subscribe to in order to have an ongoing relationship with you over time. That is the unique formula in today's digital world that's going to help you reach the success and fulfillment that I know you hope for. Some of you that are going to go, that makes perfect sense to me. Others are going to go, what in the world are you talking about? Stay with us. That is what 2022 is going to be all about. The Smart Chiropractor here is going to help you understand these ideas, help guide you through the right choices and decisions to make so you know you've got the right actions, the right outcomes, and ultimately reverse engineering that so it leads to the right fulfillment. Jeff, I'm excited this year for next year because I know all the things we're going to apply, and I'm dreaming of thousands of chiropractors we're connecting and communicating with, applying those different new ideas in their communities as well. And I'm just really fired up to see where everybody's going to go as they join us in this year.
Great job breaking that down, Jason, and highlighting really how docs can apply mindset practically for next year. We'll be back with a mindset segment on next week's episode. But right now, we're going to move over to our clinical conversations. Clinical conversations are exactly what it sounds like. They're conversations that either Jason, myself, or both of us together have with other healthcare providers to talk about how they think about approaching patient care, how they think about treatment, and how they think about their business of practice. All of those topics and more depending upon who we're talking to. And today we are going to play a video from a conversation we had with Dr. Brandon Money. He's out in Broomfield, Colorado in a practice that focuses on regenerative orthopedics. He also is certified from Titleist Performance Institute, which I know will be super familiar to a lot of chiropractors out there. We were fortunate to sit down and have a conversation with Dr. Money about posture, about golf, about how he approaches practice. We're going to play a clip of that conversation now, and you can check out the full-length interview on our YouTube channel. So without further ado, hey, Smart Chiropractors, Dr. Jeff Langmaid, part of your Smart Chiropractor team here, and I am fortunate to be sitting down again with Dr. Brandon Money at Centeno Schultz Clinic. We're going to discuss posture, which is our Smart Chiropractor campaign, and really break down clinical aspects of it, how Dr. Money thinks of it, how we can think about it, and really just talk down the overarching theme of posture. If you have any questions, drop them down below. Brandon, thanks for taking some time and coming on today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it.
You got it. So when I think of posture, I know a lot of people, the public, think of chiropractors as like these postural experts, but there's a lot more to it than that. And I know in your practice, I'm assuming it can be a big deal. And I just would love to start with the concept of how does posture play a role in your practice when you're evaluating a patient, let's say with a spine issue?
Absolutely. And, we think about the spine, it extends from, the base of our skull all the way down to our tailbone and everywhere in between. So our posture is something that we don't think about, unfortunately, enough, I feel, because we sit in a chair, whether we're at a desk job or whether we're sitting on the couch watching TV, and we try to get ourselves in what we think is the most comfortable position, not necessarily what is the proper positioning. Right. And the way we think about it is that, we have our spine, so that's the structural component, but we have ligaments, muscles, and tendons that all help support the spine from top to bottom. And we're all imbalanced in one way or another. And what I tell patients is, we have balance both left and right, and one of us, and we're all either left dominant or right dominant. So we're already biased to one side versus the other, but there's also front to back symmetry as well. And, when we think about core strength, the idea behind the core is that, we want that six pack and the abs, but the core is such a more complex structure. And we think about the anterior muscles, and we often forget about those posterior muscles, which really help keep the spine in alignment. So that often comes into play when we're going through our thought process of what we think can help the patient as far as, getting them into better alignment to help improve their posture. And it may be something that's a long process because they've been sitting poorly. And I can see myself right now. I'm leaning forward in the chair. My elbows are sitting on the desk. My head's protruded forward. So now that we're talking about posture, I'm thinking about it myself, and I need to get back into how the chair was designed for me to sit. And over the course of 8 hours a day, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever it is, we really get those muscle imbalances where our anterior muscles get tight, our posterior muscles get weak, and that throws everything off.
No doubt about it. And I know when you guys go through your examination and evaluation process, that's almost part of it with the SANS or SANS approach. I'd love for you to talk that down and break it down, because as chiropractors, or I'll speak for myself, I always think about things segmentally, regionally, and then whole body. And I kind of break down movement patterns in that context. But during your evaluation process, how are you thinking about posture? Is it whole body? Is it regionally? Is it segmentally? Is it a little bit of all? I'd love to know your thoughts as you go through your evaluations with your patients.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we do think about it, segmentally, regionally, and then more globally in the spine itself, because we may not see global changes, but the issue itself can be global. When I think about, say, a knee, for example, in a patient, well, they have knee pain. They don't necessarily have back pain, but during our evaluation, we may find evidence of some low-level radiculopathy. They lose a little bit of sensation, or they get hypersensitive, and they're L5S1 dermatome. And then we say, hey, let's get an X-ray of your low back. Shockingly enough, there's a little bit of a spondylolisthesis going on at L5S1, which is ultimately causing or helping contribute to their knee issue. So. And same thing, say a shoulder, elbow, hand, whatever, looking at the cervical spine, because what I tell every patient, just like the song we learned when we were 5, the ankle bone's connected to the knee bone, connected, and you know how it goes after that. Because it is true, because if there's one area that is thrown off, it can either downstream or upstream affect those adjoining areas.
All right. And that was Dr. Brandon Money from Centeno Schultz Clinic out in Broomfield, Colorado. If you'd like to see the conclusion of that conversation, I'm going to encourage you to head over to our YouTube channel, where we are posting all of our clinical conversations. But we're going to move along to our next segment right now, which is around our weekly marketing campaign for our Smart Chiropractors. So Dr. Money was talking about posture, which we had in the past, but it's December, which means we're talking about inflammation, and that is our monthly campaign. Our weekly topic, Jason, is around most chronic disease is linked to chronic inflammation. We have seen this to be true. A lot of this comes down to lifestyle habits, things that I'm going to say as chiropractors we can directly impact. But let's spend a few minutes talking about this week's topic for our smart chiropractors, keep them abreast at what our thoughts are on how they can do this with table talk, some of the tools and assets. Let's just have a conversation around where chronic disease meets chronic inflammation and how does this apply to chiropractic practices and why is this time of year when everybody's chronically inflamed? I'll let you take it from there.
Well, it is a long list. 'Tis the season, as they say. The question, of course, is for what? And high stress and inflammation is often one of the answers, although usually not maybe people's first answer. One of the things we want to make sure everybody's doing for those that are Smart Chiropractor members is that this is the topic that we're producing and going out for you. For those of you that are not yet Smart Chiropractor members, what this is about is that every month there's a different topic, a campaign. Every week there's a different topic from that campaign. And that gives you sort of the springboard, as Jeff said, to whether it's a table talk, whether you want to do your own videos each week to even get a larger audience, to make a greater contribution, tying the connection of what's going on in their lives with a topic and keeping things consistent is really the name of the game of making this type of practice communication much easier for you and much more effective for them. So, one of the things to do for those of you that know, some of you don't, which is why I'm sort of going back to some of the basics. If you're a Smart Chiropractor member, as in a client, you have inflammation, chronic inflammation, specifically information on your social channels going out. You've got email newsletters weekly going out this month about this topic. And if you want best results, being aware of what that topic is and then having conversations, asking questions, inviting people to sort of share their thoughts on what you're sending them is really the way to sort of close the loop and really maximize the value of the things that we're doing for you. So, you can ask questions like, hey, are you having guests over or are you going somewhere? Let them answer. Are any of the people you're going to be celebrating with the kind of people that really get you all fired up, inflamed? Any of them going to cause you any kind of extra stress? Start asking questions. One of the best things you'll hear us say over and over and over and over and over and over again is that one of the best ways to teach is by asking questions. And so you can tell people about chronic inflammation, or you can ask them different questions that get them to think about chronic inflammation in our lives. And of course, Socrates and we would recommend the question approach. So asking people really about, have you thrown caution to the wind this holiday season, or are you going to do anything to try to, in some way protect your health, improve your health? Which way are you going? We know it's the holiday season. Some people are just like, that's what January's for. I'll make up for it later. I'm just partying. Others are like, you know what? Enough is enough. I'm only going to have to pay the bill later. I might as well keep it reasonable and cautious throughout the season. Have fun with people. Ask them questions. One of the most important things, Jeff, about this process, let alone inflammation, that, I think you and I both sort of learned early on that would be valuable for people to understand. When it comes to being a doctor, there's really two approaches to it. One is, I know the facts, and my job is to tell you what those facts are, and where the chips lie, they lie, right? But this is the science, this is the truth, this is the way it is. Here you go. The other approach is to recognize that people are complicated, they're complex. People have emotions, not just logic. And people don't always follow the logical things. If they did, the world would be a much different place. So understanding that as a doctor, you're both a teacher, but you're also a guide, meaning that you're dealing with real people with real issues and real goals. And everybody's unique and different as much as we are the same. So instead of just going, here's the data, good luck with it, that's the truth, we know it, maybe it's another approach is to help guide people through questions and guidance as to what their goals are. What are your goals for this holiday season? Is it to get healthier or to have, to party your tail off? What are your goals for, Q1 next year? Is it to recover or is it to improve your health and well-being? And see yourself as somebody who's more of a coach or a guide to help people get where they want. What's their game? What's their win? And how can you take them from where they are to where they want to go. Inflammation is something that applies to basically everyone these days, both kids and seniors and everybody in between. So great topic, great time of the year to talk about it. Make sure you're asking questions, engage people in the process, and use this month's campaign as a way to set yourself up for a great Q1 starting next year.
I love that tip as far as asking questions to really get to the heart of what people are thinking, where they're at, and how you can best guide them. That is a super, super powerful tip that if you're watching, you're going to want to write that one down and ensure that you are asking questions in your practice. A couple things I want to tidy up on this week's topic about chronic disease linked to chronic inflammation. A lot of this comes down to lifestyle habits out there, chronic inflammation, what proliferates it, lack of activity, lack of exercise. Everybody gets off their habits this time of year. Many people do. Lack of sleep. Sleep schedules are all over the place. We know that contributes to chronic inflammation. Of course, what you're putting in your mouth, right? What are you eating? And right now is the time of sweets, cakes, and everything else. So these are things that push it up the scale as far as people being inflamed. And what is chronic inflammation? Well, after 90 days, any acute inflammation should wash away. But if the body gets in this hyperactive state where it's constantly stressed and or there's a constant, insulin resistance going on with the foods that are being eaten, whatever the case may be, it can happen through different mechanisms. But when that inflammation does not come back down, and even when the stressor goes away or is minimized and the body stays that way, this is what challenges and results often in chronic inflammation are bad lifestyle or suboptimal, let's put it that way, lifestyle decisions each and every day and wellness habits or a lack thereof. So guiding people on proper fitness and exercise, super important. Guiding people on maintaining a healthy sleep schedule and those circadian rhythms, super important. Maintaining and showcasing as well as you can, people eating as healthy as they can throughout this season, very, very important, especially if people are recovering from injuries. They're already compromised. They might not be in optimal health to begin with. So you start stacking this on, it becomes challenging. Why is this so important? Well, almost, I believe it's 50% of individuals have at least one chronic disease. What do we define as chronic disease? These are things you've probably heard of before. Heart disease, stroke, COPD, all of these things that are the leading mortality, the leading killers over time, all have high causation and or correlation with chronic inflammation. So moving your body now is really, really important for 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and 40 years from now. Eating the right things now, super important. Ensuring that people are getting enough sleep and rest for themselves, critically important. And we know that if they are super stressed out, certainly if they're in pain or they're just not moving optimally, they're going to compensate and eventually they're going to break down and not do those things that they can and should be doing to combat inflammation, and they're going to end up chronically inflamed. They're going to end up with chronic and recurrent issues, and this can play into chronic disease. So I say this not to be doom and gloom. I say this to emphasize the fact that what you say and how you ask questions of your patient's current habits can literally play a role in how long they live. And that is something that should be powerful. It should be inspiring, and it should make you excited to ask those questions, excited to engage in those lifestyle behaviors, and excited to showcase that you're a partner in their health, not just a rest area that they come on and off. And the more that you're able to do that, the more that you're able to teach and invite, as we'll talk about in a later segment, and use this material to have those big conversations, those important conversations with your patients, you're going to build that know, trust, and like factor. They will learn to learn from you, and you'll continue to build, grow, and develop that network of individuals who look to you as their local healthcare leader. Lot to talk about there, Jason. But any closing thoughts on this week's weekly topic of inflammation and chronic disease?
Yeah, I'm going to take it just from the concept of why we're doing what we're doing. Obviously, you're the doctor. You can appreciate inflammation. That's a clinical conversation. I want to take it from the strategy. And that is when you tune in with us each and every Tuesday, we're going to reconnect on what's going out to your patients, assuming that you're a Smart Chiropractor client. If you're not a Smart Chiropractor client, you'll learn what our clients are putting out to their patients. And you can either do your own version of it or learn how valuable it is for us to help you do it. But the point of this segment is for all of us to start paying attention to what's going out to millions of people every single month through our network. We've got hundreds of chiropractors reaching millions of people through Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, through email, all together. And many chiropractors don't understand sort of the big idea, the big picture of what it is that we're doing here as part of this network. You think of it individually. Here, I pay this amount, these things go out, this helps my practice, this helps my people, it's wonderful for me. But what we're here to also reflect is that this is also a sort of think global, act local type phenomenon. All of you are doing what you're doing locally, but it has a global benefit. Imagine if we can start coordinating hundreds, soon thousands of chiropractors literally around the world. We've got clients of ours in Australia, Singapore, Abu Dhabi, let alone most, I think, maybe every state in the nation, Canada, all over. We've got clients who are sharing these messages. And for some of you, that's the message. And for others of you, it's a prompt in order to be able to sort of go line and then take your line and do your version of the topic. But the goal here is for us to start having think of it as weekly band practice. Jeff, you're a rock star. You know that your band is only as good as your ability to get together and practice and connect and feel that reconnection and vibration, and then be able to get out and sing in harmony and work together as a team. And that's really what we see are hundreds of chiropractors, smart chiropractors, thousands of you that we're connecting with, hundreds of you that are clients, is to really hit the big idea, which is asking and answering the question, why is it that we have such an amazing idea when it comes to chiropractic, and yet why is it so few people really appreciate what we do? There's really one simple answer to that question that I can come up with. If you've got a better one, I'm all ears, we're listening. But there seems to be one logical reason why this brilliant, beautiful, elegant philosophy isn't appreciated by more people. And the only answer is that we're not doing a good enough job making it attractive to enough people who are bombarded by other thoughts, other brainwashing ideas that get them to believe that drugs and surgery covered by your insurance is pretty much your best approach or best way of thinking about healthcare. We know that's ridiculous, and if that's ever going to change, it's going to be because we're changing it and we're patient enough and consistent enough with the process. So the reason for us bringing this up, if you're not a client, is to let you know what you could be doing. If you are a client, let you know what we're doing for you, and hopefully encourage you to think about what we're doing with you so you can appreciate what we're doing, and you now have the baton to take that baton, run with it, and start sharing more of what you know inflammation to be all about for your community, the people in your practice, and for the recommendations you might have for people. Chiropractors all care for people differently. Some of you go, all I do is adjust, that's all I'm ever going to do. Some of you adjust and teach. What is stress in your life? How do you reduce it? What is the impact of stress? Some of you go and make recommendations for different types of supplements or life coaching or other ways, exercise or training, different ways they can actually manage that stress. That's all up to you as to the type of practice that you want. We're here to create the topics and the cadence. Our motto is, you're going to remember, TIC means teach and invite consistently. The hardest part is consistency. And that's really what we're helping you all with. If you're a chiropractor, you're smart. You couldn't get through school, pass boards, get a license without knowing stuff. So that part we assume you've got. It's the consistency in teaching and inviting. That's where you're going to get your long-term sustainable results. That's what we'll be talking about each and every week during this segment.
That is it. So smart chiropractors, get out there. We're going to help you with all of those automations, but get out there, shoot a video this week, get over that fear, and start a new habit. Getting out there, teaching and inviting proactively in your community. Utilize all the tools and resources we supply for you, and know that we have your back with all of the automations. Now we're going to get into conversations that matter. This segment is where we bring on any array of individuals that we know, that we're friends with, with that we think are doing cool and interesting things in and around the chiropractic profession. It sometimes might dive clinical, maybe it won't other times. And today we are happy to kick it off with Bharon Hoag of the CDC. We sat down with Bharon to identify what is this organization, what are their goals, ask some tough questions in the process, and give him the spotlight to showcase what it is that they're up to so that you as a Smart Chiropractor member can decide what you want to pay attention to, where you want to spend your money, and ultimately what organizations you choose to support. So without further ado, we will play a clip of our recent conversation with Bharon Hoag. Hey docs, welcome to Conversations That Matter. I'm Dr. Jeff Langmaid here with my co-host Dr. Jason Deitch, part of the Smart Chiropractor team. And today we have the pleasure of interviewing somebody that we've known for quite a while, Bharon Hoag of the Chiropractic Defense Council. Bharon, thanks for taking some time and coming on and chatting with us today.
Hey, I appreciate it, gentlemen. It's going to be a good time.
You got it. So for anybody out there who has no clue what the Chiropractic Defense Council is, why don't you take a few minutes and explain exactly what is this organization, what are you guys looking to do, and kind of give that 30-second, 1-minute elevator pitch as far as what you're up to these days.
Yeah, so the Chiropractic Defense Council, otherwise known as the Good CDC, started in February. We essentially are an organization that is protecting the rights of practicing chiropractors around the world. We are a project of One Chiropractic, which is the actual nonprofit organization where all the monies go through and all the legal stuff happens. But the Defense Council is the project that we're leading really across the world. We're in 7 countries now defending the rights of practicing chiropractors. So we are essentially a Navy SEAL team for the profession of chiropractic.
That is a great way of putting it. A Navy SEAL team that we've always needed. Let's get deeper. I mean, let's get right into it. Bharon, we've known you for decades now. You have been behind some of the most important initiatives on sort of institutional level to whatever degree you want to, get into any of that stuff. But you really are the perfect guy for this type of position to spearhead what's going on. Let's, we can get into all about the organization and transparency and dues and all that stuff. But what I really want to, focus most on is what's your goal and why should chiropractors care? Why does it matter? That's really what these conversations are all about. Chiropractors are practicing, they're working hard. Why should they pay attention to this organization now? What are the risks and what are you guys doing about it?
Yeah, well, I'll do my best to answer this as concisely as I can, but there's a long story kind of about why we're doing what we're doing and how. And Jay, you were more involved in this than probably anybody because you were a part of it back in 2016 when we originally created One Chiropractic. One Chiropractic was created really out of a frustration of a number of individuals. There were 10 of us that were just very, very frustrated with how the profession was operating on a national and worldwide level, just not digging at any particular organization, but just as chiropractic, we just really suck at doing things together. We're one of the few professions that circle the wagons and shoot inwards. And there were a group of us that were just really tired. At the time, there was a number of states that were considering expanding scope to include drugs. We didn't feel there was really enough of a movement to stop that. And that was kind of our precipice for getting started in 2016. We were successful at really navigating those waters and educating people and stopping that from happening. Then for a while, we were kind of an organization that kind of was looking for a reason to exist. We were doing some good work, and my history of being an executive director in a state association and being connected with a number of the national organizations, I was able to look for areas that things needed to be done, but they weren't getting done. One of my favorite quotes that really drives me to this day is from Buckminster Fuller that says that you cannot change an existing reality by fighting it. You need to create a new model that makes the old model obsolete. And that's really been the essence of what we're trying to do. We're trying to create a new model for the profession of chiropractic to actually operate. There's a lot of talking that happens. There's a lot of meetings. There's a lot of well-intentioned things within chiropractic, but there's not a ton of action. There's not, if we look historically, there's little pockets of great success, but we don't have that strong movement that moves us forward. In February of this year, I was sitting with a group of friends, and, one of them, Dr. Steve Franson, actually pitched an idea to me that I fell head over heels in love with. And that idea was, imagine if the profession of chiropractic had its own kind of Navy SEAL team that was equipped with attorneys, researchers, lobbyists, PR teams, everybody that's on retainer, all completely teched up on chiropractic, ready to go. If you think about the Navy SEALs, they spend 90% of their time training, 10% of their time actually executing on everything they've been trained on, right? They're there ready to go at that moment that they're the only people that can really achieve that specific outcome. And he's like, imagine if we had that for chiropractic. And we've been under attack in various forms for 126 years, but we've always been retroactive. We've always been defensive. And most of the time, our defense takes more time and money than it should if we were prepared for it. And at the time, we were dealing with, in Australia, we were dealing with chiropractors being told they can't see children. In Canada, they had new regulations come out on their ability to do x-rays. In Texas, we were fighting with the Texas Medical Association for chiropractors to be able to use the term neurological and do exams. So we had these real life things at that time that we were like, man, and we're not organized. Everyone has to go into fundraising. Then we have to interview attorneys, and all that stuff takes time, and we miss key opportunities to be able to make a difference. And so as I sat there, I'm like, I love this idea. And this is definitely something I feel I'm capable of making happen. And so in February, we created this project of the Defense Council. Now, little did we know that our world was going to turn upside down overnight. God's time is perfect, and I'm thankful for that guidance and direction. But, we started developing everything in February, March, April, May, June. We kind of launched in July with a summit, an online summit. And then in August is when the first mandate hit in California. And we were one of the first organizations to actually immediately mobilize, hire attorneys, really start working with chiropractors. It spread to 7 states across the United States. Then it spread into Australia and New Zealand. We're in South Africa now because they're talking about it, in Canada. And we've just really grown to this very large organization that is taking head on the issues where chiropractors are being told they have to do something to practice, or where they're being restricted in their ability to practice, whether it be x-ray issues or their ability to treat pediatrics. And so we're that organization that is not afraid to stand on the front lines and say, no, absolutely not. One of our slogans is "Don't tread on me." And we're standing very proudly saying we're done. Chiropractic is no longer the fragmented, segmented profession that's easy to start picking apart. We're standing our ground. We've got a huge number of people behind us, and we're going to defend the rights of those that do what we believe. And it's been successful thus far. We're about 5 months into it, and it's just been an incredible journey.
It really is, and I want to make sure people understand this is not just some idea. This is something that you've actually taken from an idea, and over the past 5, 6, 7 years, not just since August or the pandemic, you've been building. I guess you'd call it a coalition. I mean, you've got. Why don't you tell us? You've got thousands of chiropractors around the world donating monthly, whatever numbers you feel comfortable sharing. I just want people to know this isn't like, hey, we got an idea. What if? This is something that is fully going on, operational, already very successful to whatever degree you can tell us. What kind of team do you have? But what I really also want to make sure we get into is what's the existential threat to our profession now? And where are the canaries in the coal mine worldwide that we may not here in America think are a big deal to us because we're not there, but may actually start setting precedents that could quickly become very dangerous for our profession here in the nation?
Yeah, so I'll pick that apart because there was a number of things in there. When we started One Chiropractic, we really wanted to do something different. Again, that whole, Buckminster Fuller quote. And one of them was the economics. And we knew we wanted to take on projects. We wanted to do things other people weren't willing to do because of potential political fallout, because there was no money in it. Most people in our profession will take on anything if they can get famous or rich. It's the other work that needs to get done that maybe nobody ever knows about, or you can't make a ton of money doing it, that never gets done. And so we wanted to take those types of things on. My experience as an executive director of a state association and my time serving on the boards of national organizations, I saw a lot of that. And most organizations are not equipped to take that on. They don't have the manpower. They don't have the economics. So when we started One Chiro, we thought we wanted to do something different. And part of it was our funding model. And it hasn't changed since 2016 till today. And that is that we wanted people to pay $33 a month, $33 after the 33 principles. And it was a small enough number that most people, really anybody, could afford it. Even students or anyone else can afford $33 a month. It was a significant number that when they saw it on their credit card statements that, they knew why they were giving, because that number is an odd number, but not in the chiropractic world. But it was the idea that we wanted a bunch of people to do a little bit. most of our organizations in our profession, it's a few people doing a lot, especially whenever there's a threat. It's a few people paying a lot, giving 10 grand here, 5 grand here, 1,000 here. The problem is the organization has to continue to fundraise. They're constantly looking to replace that other big gift. And so most of your energy goes on the economics, not on the work. And that's where a lot of people get frustrated with nonprofits. So we said we didn't want to do that. We wanted a bunch of people to do a little bit and then have that sustainable every single month revenue. And so since 2016, we've been building that following. We had a few hundred, and we kind of started eking to 1,000. But since we've been doing the Defense Council, we're now over 2,700 contributors worldwide. So we're generating right around $100,000 a month in revenue that allows us to hire the attorneys. We now have 39 attorneys on retainer across the world. Probably I'd have to say we are the only organization that is that deep in legal representation. And using them, we have 4 lawsuits across the world that we are funding on behalf of all citizens of the world. And we're very deep into this. And so that's what makes this difference. I don't want the big contributions. We do not take large gifts from large companies. We're not hitting up the typical suspects like Standard Process or Foot Levelers or NCMIC and asking them for big money. All we've asked them to do is to spread our message so that we can get to the masses to get the $33 a month, because that's the sustainable model for us to continue this fight. The big gifts are nice, but then you've got to try to replace them. And I didn't want to build my budget. I didn't want to build my whole strategy on someone giving me $100,000. I wanted it on a whole bunch of people giving me 33. Then when people come and go, I don't really feel it, and so people can stop contributing whenever they want to stop. We're averaging anywhere from 15 to 25 new contributors a day across the world.
All right, there we go with our interview with Bharon Hoag, talking a little bit about what they are up to at the CDC. We're going to post that as well on our YouTube channel, the entire interview. So if you want to check out more, I get down to it on what kind of organization is this? Is it a political organization? Not what kind of chiropractor should pay attention? So you can check out his answers to those questions and more on our YouTube channel. We will have that posted very, very shortly. Our next segment is one that it has been highly requested. Today, we do not have a Smart Chiropractor member that we're going to interview. We're going to talk about marketing strategy. And specifically, we're going to talk about the strategy of teach and invite consistently. If you have been following what Jason and I have been up to with the Smart Chiropractor, you probably heard these words before, but we want to talk about it in a very practical way, in a very meaningful way, because it really is the foundational core of what we do with the Smart Chiropractor. Each and every day, week, month, and year, we help docs get more new patients in their front door. We help docs improve their retention during active care. We help docs improve their reactivation so they have that consistent flow of reactivations. We do that through social and email, but it's all built on this core marketing philosophy of teach and invite consistently. So we're going to spend some time talking about what that means, talking about how you can apply it in practice, and also perhaps give some examples of how we apply it with the Smart Chiropractor through 500,000 plus emails that we send on behalf of our docs each and every month, 20,000 plus qualified leads that come into their front doors, and also those 4 million individuals, consumers, people in your community right now that we reach through our Smart Chiropractors through social. So teach and invite, the first time I heard this, Jason, was when you brought it up. So I'm going to kick it over to you to talk down and talk up exactly what teach and invite consistently means and how docs can think about applying it in their practice, maybe even today.
All right. This is an awesome segment, one of my favorites. And the spirit of what we want to accomplish here in this marketing segment is to really help chiropractors understand how you can be marketing now and in the future. And we're going to set this up very similar to hopefully the way you set up communications in your practice, which is that when people come into your practice, they most likely have a very predefined, prejudged understanding of what health or pain relief looks like and should be when they come to your practice. Just like many of you have a preconceived notion, a prejudgment on what you think marketing is supposed to be when you come to, let's just call it our practice, our conversation. And so the first place for us to start is to really clarify the differences, like you would. There's temporary pain relief with drugs, or there's healing the process naturally from within, and the long-term consequences or benefits of those decisions. The exact same metaphor holds true here when it comes to you and your practice's marketing. Yes, you can do certain things to get immediate gratification, or you can do other things that are going to get you long-term sustainable benefit. And usually those are not the same things. Maybe you want to be doing a little of both. But let's start today with understanding what we think of as content marketing, or building a health tribe, or teaching and inviting consistently. What does that look like? What does that sound like? We're big fans of reverse engineering your goal. We're going to talk a lot about that in this segment and our next segment, which is going to be about reducing your financial stress. So I'm going to start with the end in mind. I'm going to start by working backwards. Let's go to what it should look like. And my belief is, what it should look like is some version of a video I'm about to show you. I'm going to show you a video that I was invited to because of different groups I work with. If you're interested, we'll talk about it. You can ask me down below or private message me. But I was able to get on a news station asking me questions about social media. And one of the sayings that I have been putting out there, I say I, me, Jeff, the Smart Chiropractor team, what we've been focused on is helping you learn how to make Facebook, Instagram, and email healthy for people. There's this whole conversation out there about how bad Facebook is. Some of you may even believe it yourself, in spite of the fact that you're watching this on Facebook. You may get into this belief that it is bad and it does cause problems and it is a menace to society. And how dare one person, have so much power, and all the negative media hype about this thing that, in my opinion, although is not perfect, I'll cede that point, I will say is probably the most valuable, most powerful, greatest tool that our profession could have ever asked for in the history of communications. Imagine remember back in years back, decades back, B.J. Palmer literally started and bought radio stations and TV stations. Why? Because he knew that the growth of the profession had everything to do with his ability to communicate the chiropractic story with as many people as possible. That's just simple principle, simple formula. And that formula holds true today. But the difference between now and before is that you don't have to buy or own or run and operate a television station, a radio station, a printing press, a local newspaper, a magazine. You don't have to be in the business to have access to the tools that can help you achieve and accomplish those kinds of outcomes and goals and results. So I'm going to try to use technology to show you something. Let's see if this works here. Today we're talking about freedom, your freedom. And freedom means having the ability, the power or right to act, speak, or think as you want to without hindrance or restraint. Now, some of you are going to go, yeah, but that's the whole point of not liking social media. I can't say what I want, think what I want, and do what I want. We're going to teach you how to use the tools to the maximum benefit of what you're allowed to do. And I'm going to make a metaphor here with this. It may be, let's see if we get out of presenter mode, if that makes it any better or different. How's that look?
Looks good.
Great. So we'll stick with this for now. It may be, the metaphor is that, to me, social media is equivalent to having a car. And it was recently I saw a long format podcast, and one of the comments that the presenter was making was, I believe that if cars were introduced today, we'd make them illegal. Okay, think about that for a moment. If cars were introduced today, if people didn't know how to drive cars, what would happen is people would be getting killed on a regular basis. They'd be dangerous. They'd be hurting other people. They'd be causing more damage than benefit because people they have a car, but they don't yet know how to drive them. And that's really where we are in this phase of social media from our perspective, is that it's a very good thing if you know how to use it right, how to steer it, how to drive it, how to control it. And we live in a world right now where you do have the ability to have a car, buy a car, rent a car, use a car. You need to get a license. You need to be trained. And there are rules. There are laws. You can't do whatever you want with your car as much as you'd like to. And yet there are common, understandable laws, rules, regulations, so that these things are used in a safe way. And we're still early in the social media conversation, but that's where we are right now, is if more people would learn how to steer, how to drive, how to control their communication, their phones, their social, their email, if we did a better job curating, steering towards the things that are good for us and steering away from and avoiding those things that are dangerous, unhealthy, or damaging to us, then these tools today could be much more advantageous to our freedom, to our ability to connect, to our ability to see family members, to do all the things that cars give us the ability to do. Social media has that same type of benefit. Think about it. If you're old enough like I am, if you weren't born with the internet, ask yourself, when's the last time you paid for a long distance phone bill that I used to pay hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars a month to be able to make phone calls long distance, especially international? When's the last time you paid to have film developed or videos developed and edited professionally or shipped to somebody? There were so many different things that we used to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars and couldn't even do. None of us were video editors, photographers, writers, journalists, content creators, as they say. We couldn't afford to do that. That was a special expertise and a profession that most of us didn't have access to those tools because of cost and understanding. That is all different and changed. And that's the paradigm shift we're hoping to bring to our profession. What can you do with these tools? What benefit can you be to your community? And I'm going to show you a brief little video that I was fortunate enough to be able to do as an example of what I hope you start doing locally in your community. Whether you start getting on local radio stations, local podcasts, local videos, whether they're local media or other people that have video followings. There's so many different ways to do what we're talking about when you got the right mindset. So I believe that you want to think about your email list and your social channels as your audience. And your goal is to create as large of an audience of people that want to be there. Not just as large of an audience as you can, but as large of an audience of people that willingly want to be there. Meaning, no, I don't think if you had the opportunity to buy an email list of 1 million strangers who have no idea who you are, no interest in what you're selling, that is not more valuable than having 100 people on your email list that actually want to be there because they said, yes, I'm curious about who you are. I'm interested in how you can help me, and I want to learn more with you about the things you can help me do for myself. That's what freedom's all about. Let me show you this video. Hopefully it'll come through audio, and here we go. This is my hope for you. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of media, a lot of press about how bad these tools are. And my question is, if they have the potential and power to be so bad, don't they also have the same potential and power to be good?
The downsides to social media are seemingly endless, right? It can be a source of unhealthy comparison, hate speech, wasted time, and of course then guilt that comes along with all of that. But it's not all bad, according to our next guest, who says we just need to learn how to make it healthy for us. Please welcome Dr. Jason Deitch, an author and social media expert. What is the easiest way to get bogged down in the bad when it comes to social media? It's really easy to do, it seems like.
It's really easy to get bogged down to it, to the point that many are referring to it obviously as an addiction. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of media, a lot of press about how bad these tools are. And my question is, if they have the potential and power to be so bad, don't they also have the same potential and power to be good? And really, that's my message is it's up to us to learn how to take control of these tools. And like our cars, make sure we steer them towards the good things. And take control and steer them away from the things that can be dangerous, unhealthy, or bad for us.
Well, that's why we're turning to an expert like you to help us navigate that steering wheel. So let's talk about the way to make it healthier for us.
Well, we're teaching doctors around the country to teach their local communities that there are 5 steps to take control of your news feed and make technology and social media healthy for you. And they start with the first one that many people don't really recognize and know, is that you can unfollow what makes you unhealthy. Facebook gives you tools, gives you controls that if there's things that appear, people that appear in your newsfeed on a regular basis that cause you stress, as you mentioned, whether it's due to comparison or other issues, then you can simply unfollow them or even snooze them and just reprieve them for a temporary time, 30 days or so. On the other side, step 2 is to follow those things that actually inspire you, that make you healthier. And there are doctors around the world, across the country, that literally are building what we call local health tribes, where they invite their local community, their patients and others, to subscribe to a daily dose of positive inspiration and health reminders throughout the day. There are networks like this Smart Care Network that have doctors around the country sharing these daily doses of inspiration. So we can look for those things and follow them. Step 3 in the 5 steps is to look up. And with my background as a chiropractor, that starts with look up physically, so we don't cause as much damage or nerve interference, what's known as subluxation in our spine, that's causing early degeneration in younger and younger people. You also want to look up mentally, as in it's time for us to be more optimistic and look up. Step 4 is get connected and engage with our tribes. There are millions and billions of people online on these communities, and it's up to us to look for and connect and engage with those groups that inspire us and that teach us how to even be healthier each and every day. And the last step, 5, is to be kind, be generous, and share the love. Most of us are good people with good intentions and good values, trying to do good things each and every day. So we can use these tools to find those things that inspire us, that make us healthy, and share them with other people.
Dr. Deitch, thank you. Everyone, you have homework. Let's try to do this and be healthier. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you so much. And so that's really the question is, why can't you do that? Are you able in your community to be able to share those kinds of messages and build your local health tribe, build your local following, go on local television, local podcasts, local radio, teach your current clients that this is your place to connect. This is your place to invite people to want to learn more about their health. And that's really how the Smart Chiropractor tools, the done for you services, help support this idea. The idea that every month there's a different campaign, every week a different topic, and every day a different some way to connect with people to inspire them to live their best life. And it looks like this. You know, you can create, and we have some of these tools for our clients in our vault, the place where we say your money is in our vault. It's the place that you can find great tools that can be used. We teach about the 5 steps to take control of your news feed. They're all there. Use them. Use them as yours to be able to build your tribe. There's even PowerPoints if you wanted to explain and go into more detail about the research and science about how you can be using social media for your better health and how you're teaching people how to do exactly that. And a lot of our clients are doing exactly that. They've got graphics like you see right here that not only teach them something and invite them to take a next step. Your best next step is to invite them to become part of your health tribe. Teach them something and invite them to join your health tribe so they can keep learning more over time. And it looks like this. You know, we make Facebook healthy for you. Join us and receive a daily dose of inspiration. Look up health reminders, subscribe to our tribe, and make Facebook healthy for you. Many of these are available for you in the vault if this makes sense to you. If you want to be a local leader, if you want to start being the contrarian to say, wait a minute, you know, yeah, social media has its issues, no question about it. Nobody's saying it's perfect. But let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's so many benefits to it. Let's learn how to use it in a proper and beneficial way. And you, as a local chiropractor, are doing exactly that. Building a health tribe, teaching people how to use Facebook and Instagram for their benefit. Jeff, I'll kick it back to you as I stop sharing my screen before we get to our next segment. There we go. That's really what I want to share for this segment about, understanding the concept of teaching people something, then inviting them to take a next step. Teach them whatever our monthly campaign, weekly topic is, and invite them to join your health tribe, whether that's online social, whether that's join your email list. If you followed our recommendations, many of you who use our service have a pop-up box you can be putting on your website. There's lots of roads that will get you there. Don't be paralyzed by the options. Understand what your goal is, and then let's work together to help you take the right road to get you to the right destination. But it starts with mindset, and it starts with understanding, what am I trying to achieve? And what you're trying to achieve is building as large of an audience as you possibly can that wants to be there to learn from you. And some of those people that learn from you will be interested in the invitations you invite them to take. In this case, have them join your health tribe so that they can experience a daily dose of inspiration, experience your passion and compassion for wanting to help them be healthier by being a part of your health tribe online. Jeff, your thoughts?
Thank you for sharing those real life examples of how you've taught and invited, and how docs can really take the material that we provide at the Smart Chiropractor and just accelerate their practice moving forward. I think that is exceptionally powerful, especially as we're closing out the year and you might be thinking about your plans for next year. I'll do a little teach and invite myself right now, which is we do have open enrollment with the Smart Chiropractor going on right now. It's 2021 rolling into 2022. There's no question that you need to consistently communicate with your health tribe, with the people on your email list, with those past patients, with your active patients, with the people that follow you online. They might be in your circle of practice. They might be beyond your circle of practice. But the bottom line is you have to have systems and processes to communicate across that patient journey, as we call it. You have those people out there that are future patients, haven't been patients yet. You certainly have active patients in your practice. But probably what most chiropractors are missing is that proactive retention loop. Our goal with the Smart Chiropractor is to teach and invite along that entire journey, to make it super easy for you to guide patients from your health tribe to becoming an active patient, from a potential patient to an active patient, from an active patient to a proactive patient, and then stimulate and generate that retention loop that keeps your schedule full day after day, week after week, month after month. And we talk about it. We'll dive into it, I'm sure, in the future. As far as holes in that bucket of practice, there's so much water going in, so many new patients coming in up top, but you can never seem to keep your schedule full. We call that a hole in the bucket, a roller coaster effect, a yo-yo effect, however you want to define it. It plagues way too many chiropractic practices out there, and a lot of it comes down to a lack of consistency when teaching and inviting, and a lack of systems and processes. So if you want to make 2022 your best year yet, head over to smartchiropractor.com, or you can tune in later. Jason and I will be live answering questions directly relative to the Smart Chiropractor in just a few hours. But right now, we're going to move along to our next segment, which is all around smart business and practice success. Now, if you are a Smart Chiropractor member, a lot of what we're going to talk about over this segment might sound familiar to you, because we're going to talk about recurring revenue and having a payday practice. But if you are not yet a Smart Chiropractor member, this might be new. Now, I want to say we did perform all of season 2 of the Smart Chiropractor podcast all around payday practice. So if you want to dive super deep on this topic, head over to iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you listen to podcasts, subscribe to the Smart Chiropractor, and dive into season number 2. But quickly, I say quickly, meaning we're going to take a few minutes to talk about this, because this is one of the most important topics that we are discussing as we roll through 2022. We just talked about teach and invite and building that health tribe. You might be thinking, that sounds good, but what do I do with those people? What if they don't become a new patient in my practice? What if they don't live near me? And this is, we're going to tie together a lot of threads here. But part of this is about reducing stress. Part of this is about having an offering for those individuals that live beyond your circle of practice, and really taking the opportunity to teach and invite beyond just coming in as a new patient. Hey, fee-for-service care, getting your hands on people, the most important thing you can do. But I can tell you, you are leaving a lot of opportunity, money, revenue, and impact on the table if that's all you do. And we're going to talk today about having a payday practice, where that ties into recurring revenue. We're going to have other episodes, diving into the mechanics of all this. But let's spend a few moments talking about the concept of a payday practice, recurring revenue, and why this might be the conversation that changes your practice next year. Jason, what the heck is a payday practice?
What the heck is it? It sounds great, right? Who doesn't want a payday? Who doesn't want another payday? In simple terms, Jeff and I have launched a brand new book that we're soft launching to friends. We've been to a few events where we've shared it, and we've slowly shared it with some of our current clients slowly. So you're one of the first to hear what we believe is probably going to be one of the most significant and important business model conversations our profession has ever had. We have been acting like it's 1999 throughout the 2000s, and the world has changed. The internet has changed things. Digital communications has changed things. Our expectations have changed. Think of Amazon. If we don't get free shipping by tomorrow, most of us are frustrated. And yet, we've got the world at our fingertips. We're living in a different marketplace. And the question is, how is your practice, how is your communication adapting to this new world? And I'm going to share my screen, get back to a couple slides here, and proudly introduce to you the Payday Practice. This is a brand new book, ebook for now. We're going to continue to iterate a little bit until we decide to go full print version of it. The concept very simply is this. If you're a practicing chiropractor, you're probably very familiar with the concept that the first day of every month usually represents the same thing for all of us. And that is when your business hat is on, your revenue hat is on, the first of the month represents back to zero in collections, which for many of us is an emotional pit because you go, wait a minute, I just broke a record last month. We served more people, generated more money. We had the greatest profit last month than ever before. And here we are, the first of the month. I sure hope, I pray, please, God, whatever you believe in, let's make sure that we're able to generate that kind of success this month. And what our experience is, and sort of the way this evolved as an idea, is Jeff and I have been for many years now, we can actually say decades, have been trying to help chiropractors understand how to make a greater impact in your community, how to teach people how to be smarter patients so that they actually appreciate what you do, decide they want to say yes, and stick around, right? And refer others. That happens to people that appreciate and understand what you do. It doesn't happen when people come in for their reasons, not yours. And so too many chiropractors, after years and years and years of us showing the light, showing the pathway, have constantly reverted back to the simple saying, yeah, but is that going to get me more new patients now? We have created a profession of advertising addicts, people that are addicted to needing to run deep discount ads in order to keep their business afloat. So many of you approach this marketing conversation with such desperation that the idea of thinking about doing anything long-term is so foreign because you have to meet your numbers. You have to meet your payroll. You have to meet your mortgage, your rent, all the bills. And of course you do. But here's the question of the payday practice. What if the first of the month went from, oh no, back to zero in collections and turned into payday? What if the first of the month you were able to process as much revenue as necessary to cover your monthly recurring expenses? Here it is in simple terms. You could calculate how much money you must earn to cover all of your recurring expenses each and every month. You all have a number. And the question we're asking in this book and teaching in this book is, what if you were calculating your monthly recurring expenses and strategically generated monthly recurring revenue that processed monthly payments that meets your monthly recurring revenue? What would that do to your financial stress level? What would it be like to feel that the first of every month you covered all of your monthly expenses each and every month. Would that be different? Would it feel different? Would you be able to afford to tell the truth in a different way? Would you be able to be more confident, more happy, more successful? Would, in fact, having less financial stress attract more finances? And the answer, we believe, is yes to all. And that's really what this project is all about. We sort of got together. Jeff and I were talking. Jeff goes, this would be like if Seth Godin, Gary Vaynerchuk, Robert Kiyosaki, and Tim Ferriss all got together in a room and brainstormed about the chiropractic practice of the future today. And that's really what this project is all about. If you want a copy of the book, you literally can put your phone up to the screen, take a copy of it. We'll put links down below to get a copy of it. Put in your name, put in your email address. This is the invite part, and you'll be doing the exact thing. I just taught you something about running a payday practice, generating recurring revenue, and here I am inviting you, for those of you that think that makes sense, to take a next step. In this case, join our email list, get the book, and start learning more deeply about how you can be doing these things. Here are the chapters of the book. This is what it's all about. There's plenty of detail. If it makes sense that you want to achieve this, we'll show you, we'll guide you on how you can build your payday practice. And there's a lot of different ways to do it. We're going to briefly go over a couple ideas here, and we'll wrap up our first show, in just a few minutes. But it starts with really 4 sections, 4 questions. Number one, you got to understand, what is your dream? What is this all about for you? What's your goal? What's your fulfillment? What's your objective? Why did you become a chiropractor? Beyond, I want to make a living for myself. Of course you do. But why beyond that, right? What impact, what specialty, what audience, what difference can you make? Let's start with you, not them. 2, who's your tribe? Who's your audience? Who are the people that most want, most appreciate, most value what it is that you're talking about, you're teaching, the services you're offering? Who is that audience? And then what is it that you can offer them? What can you teach and invite them to want and subscribe to? What can you teach them to want more of? And I'll give you some examples in just a moment. And then section 4, step 4 is, okay, if I know what I'm about, if I know who I'm talking about, if I know what it is that I want to offer them, then how do you scale that? How do you grow that? How do you reach more people and generate more revenue? Those are the 4 categories of the book. Here's the main worksheet you're going to want to get from the book. Don't expect you to do it now, but this is what you'll get when you join and sign up for the Payday Practice book. You'll figure out your top reason and motivation for what drives you. You'll figure out what we call your MVMI, your minimum viable monthly income, the amount of money you must earn to not feel stressed. Then you'll figure out, how do I calculate my financial freedom formula? How much do I need to earn? What is it that I can offer? And how do I make sure that I launch and sell the number of subscriptions or memberships in order to generate my monthly recurring expenses each and every month on the first of the month? And one of the more popular ways that we're bringing to the profession, everybody's got a variety of different ways of doing different kinds of memberships for adjustments. We call this program your proactive membership. It is a great way, not the only way, but is a great way to have what we think of as a second front door. Think about the 99% of people that are not actively going to Google searching for neck pain, back pain, chiropractor in your town. About 1% of the people in your community are actively looking for you, saying, I want to see a chiropractor because I have some sort of issue I believe a chiropractor can help me with. That's about 1% of the population right here, right now. And my question for you is, don't you think it'd be a good idea to have something to offer everybody else? And the question to find out who the somebody else or who that other audience is asking the question, do you believe your health would be better if you had a tune-in and tune-up visit at least once a month in my practice? Do you think if you came to see me at least once a month for a tune-in and tune-up visit that your health would be better? And if the answer to that is yes, we've got a membership, we've got a program, we've got a system for you. And you can basically create whatever type of membership you want. We recommend at the very basic that it's at least one visit to your practice every month. If they want more or need more, you can build a larger membership. But if you want to generate monthly recurring revenue, you need to provide a monthly recurring service. And so long as you, like us, believe in your core that it's ethical and beneficial for somebody to come to see you for your service at least once a month, then this is a phenomenal program for you. Jeff, I know we've put a lot of these together. We're showing people some examples. I like to think of this as, okay, here's the 4-minute mile. This is how you break it. Go for it. Go do it. Here's how you can generate monthly recurring revenue to cover your monthly recurring expenses each and every month by instituting a proactive membership program. That doesn't have to change anything you're currently doing that you think works. It's a second opportunity, a new opportunity for those people that aren't in pain, that aren't looking for a chiropractor right now, but have some common sense. And if you ask them that question, do you think coming to see me at least once a month for a tune-in and tune-up visit would benefit your health? I'll bet you there's a good percentage of people that would go, you know what? That makes sense to me. Nobody's ever offered me that before. Let's do it. Jeff, I'm going to cut this program this short. I know we got a lot of conversations in future to talk about smart care stores and a few of the things I'm teasing here. Here's the way to get to the book. I'll just tease also the smart patient journey you talked about a little bit earlier. We'll go over that in future episodes. But for right now, let's get back to you and I as we stop and finish this episode and conclude our show for today. What are your thoughts and excitement for the Payday practice and what it is that you've seen, the reaction of people, chiropractors who are sort of implementing it, doing some version, getting much more clarity? What are your thoughts on this program?
I am super excited. We recently launched the store component, our Smart Care store, which is an e-commerce solution exclusively for Smart Chiropractor members. And we have over 50 stores open right now. So docs literally, as we speak right now, have emails, social media communications going out and highlighting some of their favorite products, some of their favorite supplements, some of their favorite things that can help them not only serve their patients at a higher level. We've all had patients come in, hey, I think I'd like to take a vitamin D. What should I take? You spend 10 minutes poorly describing something. They buy the wrong thing on Amazon, bring it in and show you, and you sit there saying, oh my gosh, why not have an easy solution for them? Easy solution with supplements means no inventory, no closet of seminars passed with dusty stuff, no inventory management, and money deposited in your account each and every night. And that is what we have really put together over the last year with the Smart Care store system, with this part of having a Payday practice. I'll leave it right there and sort of tease it because there is so much to talk about regarding Smart Care stores and a Payday practice. So if you take home message for today is, think about your practice. You have the opportunity to expand your impact beyond your four walls. You probably have people following you in your health tribe that don't live near your practice today. How can you serve them? And how can you serve all those people in your practice and that you are actively communicating with that you should, you could, you just haven't had that easy opportunity to do it before? We think subscribe and save recurring revenue is a great way to build a Payday practice, and it is the evolution and next step of what we can do as chiropractors to not only help our practices, but number one, help our patients in our community. So as we wrap up today's first episode of the Smart Chiropractor Show, we're going to do a little teaser to something coming in 2022. So Jason and I have been talking a lot about individuals who are leaders, who are future leaders, who have made a big impact on the chiropractic profession. People doing interesting things as well. And we saw a big hole, and that is there's a lot of people out there that haven't had the opportunity to tell their story. There's a lot of people that we see, heads of schools, whatever it might be, we might respect, be confused by, you name it, and we don't know their origin story, how'd they get into chiropractic, how'd they end up in the position that they ended up in, and how do they think about what's going on today. And we are super, super honored that our first guest is a close friend and mentor of Jason, Dr. Gerry Clum. We're going to share just a few minutes of the Real Story podcast. And Dr. Clum is our first guest. Next year, we'll be launching this. This will be a podcast with an array of fantastic guests. I think there's no better way to start it than with Dr. Clum. Jason, I'm going to kick it over to you because I know you'll want to say a few words before we share this brief clip for today. And then we'll get to wrapping up today's episode.
We're really fired up. Jeff and I, many of you have been watching some of these longer format conversations, whether it's Joe Rogan talking about everything except chiropractic, or many of the others that are out there right now. Long format really is the place that we can get to know each other much deeper. We're usually living in either one of the extremes. Either it's hyper quick, it's a bumper sticker, or it's really long because you want to go in depth. We are going to zag to get really long. We know not everybody's going to put in and invest the time to connect with us and learn, but those of you who do are going to have tremendous depth and benefit by doing so. Dr. Clum was an easy and obvious choice for us. He was just phenomenal to get to know. And this is also a way for us to sort of honor our legends, honor our icons. And with that, I'm just extremely grateful for Dr. Clum's mentorship, friendship, and generosity in sharing his story.
I'd ask the youth of today to read the minutes of last generation's meeting. What looks crazy as hell in 2021 wasn't so nuts in 1971. And was very, very wise in 1941. There was a reason why things came to be. There was a reason policies were put in place. The reasons may have changed. The circumstances for those policies may have changed. But be gentle with your judgments, because there'll come a time when another group is going to be judging you and what you did in 2021. And was that really the smartest thing to do?
Hello and welcome to The Real Story, conversations with chiropractic icons, legends, and future heroes.
Today we have the, I'll say, honor of being with somebody who fits, as far as I'm concerned, all of those categories, including future heroes. And I say that because when you hear our story today, I think you're going to agree he's one of the past, present, and future heroes. Of course, we're talking about none other than Dr. Gerry Clum. Dr. Clum, it's an honor to be with you. As I'm grateful to be able to call you both a friend and a mentor. And let's just sort of kick things off and get right into why we're doing this. And you and I had a conversation a couple days ago about a brand new book called Contain and Eliminate. And as we were talking about it, for anybody who's been around the chiropractic profession for several decades, those words should ring something that maybe makes your hair stand up, let alone your blood pressure go a little bit higher. We talked about it and you said, well, that's actually the backdrop of my entire career. And so we're honored that you said yes, you would let us help document the history of our profession and really be, I think appropriately so, the first person that we bring onto this program. So let me say first, thank you so much for being here. We're honored to have you. Let me invite everybody to join Dr. Gerry Clum.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's great to be with you, and I appreciate the opportunity. And I'm very excited about the serendipitous nature of our conversation, where we were just talking about, affairs of the day, and the subject of the book, Contain and Eliminate, came up, and my enthusiasm for it. And as you said, and we commented, the timing of the book, I started Palmer in 1970, graduated in 1973, and the Wilkes suit was filed in 1976.
All right. We have a lot to look forward to as we dive into 2022. And that interview is going to be a highlight. If you are interested in chiropractic history, if you want to know more about how do we get to where we are today and who are those individuals that made a really, really big impact just for even the ability to practice that I think many of us take for granted, although maybe the last year we're reminded that is more of a privilege than a right. There is no question that The Real Story is going to be a fantastic podcast series. We are super jazzed about it. And we're wrapping up episode number 1 of the Smart Chiropractor Show. We'll be back next week. We'll have, segments going on. If there's a segment, a topic that you'd love to hear us chat about, drop that down in the comments. If you'd like to be interviewed, we can talk marketing, we'll talk practice. If you would like to be highlighted and interviewed and showcased to hundreds, if not thousands of docs around the world, comment down below or shoot us a direct message. But without further ado, on behalf of Dr. Jason Deitch, I'm Dr. Jeff Langmaid and our entire Smart Chiropractor team. Have a fantastic day, and we'll see you very soon for another episode of the Smart Chiropractor Show. Bye-bye. Hey, if you like that video, be sure to subscribe to The Smart Chiropractor. We are posting videos on how you can market your chiropractic practice in a way that teach and invites consistently. We have found that is the magic formula to big time growth. So if you like this video, be sure to comment down below, smash that subscribe button, or visit us at thesmartchiropractor.com.